My dear friend, if you are hearing my voice right now, realize that you are standing at the most decisive moment of your life. Every single person goes through a turning point where they face two fundamental questions. Am I going to become the person who actually achieves their dreams? Or am I going to be the person who just wished for them? The question isn't whether your dreams are big or small. The real question is, can you push yourself in that direction every single day? Can you force yourself to execute, even when you don't feel like it, even when your body's exhausted, and even when the whole world seems to stand against you? The individual who masters this exact art is the one who creates absolute miracles. That is precisely what I am here to teach you today. Did you know that two distinct people live inside you? The first is the high performer who knows exactly what they want. The second is the passive self that bends and breaks under the weight of laziness, fear, excuses, and self-doubt. Every time you say, "I'll just do it tomorrow. I'm not in the mood today. Let me rest a little longer," the timing isn't right. Understand this. The passive person inside you is winning. But the day you declare, "I am going to do whatever it takes to get closer to my goal, whether my mind agrees or not," that is the exact moment your true, high-performing self wakes up. And that is the version of you the world respects. Your mind is a high-powered machine, a machine that constantly receives two types of signals: your absolute commands or your internal weakness. The mind doesn't care who is giving the order. If you say, "I'm too tired today, I can't get any work done, I need a break," your mind accepts it and says, "Order received," initiating rest mode. But if you declare, "I don't care how I feel right now. I write my own commands. I am executing right here, right now," your mind immediately unleashes the energy required to make it happen. Your mind is your ultimate servant, but the vast majority of people foolishly let it become their master. Let me share a story that isn't widely known, but holds absolute truth. There was an obscure, unknown sculptor named Elian Craster who wanted to create a monumental masterpiece. People laughed at him. They said, "You don't have the tools. You don't have the funding. You don't have the network." Every night he walked into his studio, but a slight wave of exhaustion or laziness would stall his progress. One night, he made a firm decision. "I will only work for 14 minutes tonight. That's it, just 14 minutes." The second he picked up his tools, those 14 minutes turned into 40 minutes. Those 40 minutes turned into 3 hours. Those 3 hours stretched into 7 hours of continuous creation. 6 months later, that sculpture was recognized as one of the most compelling pieces of art in Europe. He told me one thing that stayed with me forever. Greatness didn't begin with a massive overhaul. It started with a 14-minute push. Success doesn't start with overwhelming decisions. It starts with a small, undeniable spark. Now let me break down the exact blueprint that turns any individual into an execution machine. This framework is so simple that your mind cannot rationalize its way out of it. Rule number 1, emotion defeats laziness. Your mind isn't naturally lazy. It simply lacks emotional charge. Ask yourself one question: why am I doing this task? Answer it in a single line, but make sure that answer makes your heart race. Say something like, "I am going to lift my family out of financial stress. I am going to write my name in the history books. I am going to become the kind of person my kids look up to as an absolute hero." Emotion drives action. Without emotion, ambition is just empty noise. Rule number 2, lower the barrier to entry. If you tell yourself, "I have to study or work for 60 minutes, your mind immediately resists. But if you tell yourself, "I'm only doing this for 5 minutes, the friction disappears. Why? Because your brain doesn't perceive small targets as a threat. That is a psychological life hack. Rule number 3, the mind only respects direct commands. Every single morning, command your brain, "I execute my high-priority work first. Everything else comes second. I do not let my feelings, my obstacles, or my fatigue take the lead. I am not a victim of my goals. I am the architect of my reality." You wouldn't believe how much a person becomes a prisoner of their own weak words, or a king through their strong ones. Let me give you another real-world example. There was a small business owner, no fame, no public recognition, but he held one absolute rule: Spend 5 minutes every single day on his most important strategic task. People mocked the idea, but 5 minutes a day adds up to 1,825 minutes a year. Over a decade, that is over 300 hours of laser-focused execution. Those tiny 5-minute daily sprints turned him into a multi-millionaire. Consistency beats raw talent every single day. Why do most people fail to take action? People aren't inherently lazy. They usually suffer from 3 things: lack of emotion, lack of direction, or an inability to initiate momentum. You might have a target, but if it doesn't get your blood boiling, your mind will never give you the green light to execute. Here is the most lethal technique to force yourself into action. Your mind is hardwired to avoid pain. Procrastination doesn't happen because the work is hard. It happens because the pain of staying comfortable feels lower than the pain of doing the work. You need to invert that dynamic. Make the pain of inaction massive, and make the pain of taking action tiny. For instance, leverage the pain of inaction. If I don't execute right now, I will stay the exact same average version of myself that I despise. If I quit today, my future stays stuck in the exact same place for the next 10 years. Then minimize the pain of action. Just 5 minutes, just one quick task. Your brain will flip its priorities instantly. Now for the core formula that builds an unstoppable, action-driven mindset. Consider this real-world case. In a small coastal town, an elderly woman worked at a local lighthouse. She had a dream of writing a book, but she had no backing, no formal literary background, and barely any free time. One day, she gave herself a simple command. I will write just one single sentence every day. Just one sentence. Some days, that one sentence sparked a 40-minute writing session. Other days, it turned into an hour. On busy days, it took just 30 seconds. 2 years later, her book was published and became one of the most widely read regional memoirs in the country. She later said, when you take tiny, non-negotiable steps, your biggest dreams end up chasing you. My friend, if you've ever felt that frustrating gap between knowing what you need to do and actually doing it, realize that it's not a personal flaw. It's just outdated mental programming. Your mind defaults to whatever is comfortable, not what produces real results. Real success belongs to those who learn to issue clear commands to their own minds. Today, you are tapping into the exact discipline that the top 1% use to dominate their space. Don't try to desperately force your mind. Give it a reason so compelling that it has no choice but to yield. Your mind can dismantle excuses when faced with an absolute reason. Back in 1932, a Chicago-based painter named Anthony Morris was incredibly talented, but chronically lazy. He would go months without touching a canvas. Then, one day, his 8-year-old son fell severely ill, and he had zero money to cover the medical expenses. Anthony was left with 3 choices: break down, wait for a miracle, or take immediate action. That exact day, he locked in and painted 6 full pieces in 16 straight hours. Every single one of them sold. Over the next 27 years, he never procrastinated a single day of his life. Why? Because he had a why that shook him to his core. The right reason turns an average worker into a champion. Next, leverage artificial time pressure. Create a sense of urgency for your goals. You've seen how people accomplish the impossible when an absolute emergency hits. When the deadline for a final exam arrives, people digest a year's worth of material in a couple of sleepless nights. Why? Because pressure creates ultimate clarity. Clarity drives speed, and speed delivers massive results. Look at a Spanish engineer named Rigo Alvarez. He wanted to launch a startup for 7 years, but kept delaying it. Finally, he set a strict 90-day deadline. If I don't launch this platform in 90 days, I resign from my current position and never complain about my career again. Did it scare him? Absolutely. But that exact fear forced him to execute daily. Today, Rigo's company distributes products across 26 countries. Artificial pressure creates real-world results. Use the 5-minute rule for unstoppable action. The mind panics when it thinks about an entire 10-hour project, but it never fears a 5-minute sprint. Another hidden enemy: comparison. Every day you compare yourself to someone, their success, their lifestyle, their progress. Then your focus shifts. You leave your path because you entered someone else's race. But the truth? Everyone has a different timeline, a different path. If you focus on others, you'll never focus on yourself, and that stops your growth. Now imagine you dropped comparison and put all your attention on your own work. You'd grow faster, you'd stay stable, you'd feel satisfied, because now you're running your own race. Another deep point: your mind is always thinking, past, future, what ifs, and you get lost in it. But real power is in the present. When you do one task with full awareness, your efficiency multiplies. You think better, perform better. But what do? Think about the future while working. Think about the past while resting, and lose the present in both. So here's a rule: when you work, just work. When you rest, rest without guilt. This balance multiplies your focus. Slowly the picture becomes clear. Focus isn't just a skill, it's a discipline, a habit, an identity. And the day you see yourself as a focused person, your decisions change. You automatically avoid distractions. You take priorities seriously. You stop wasting time, because now you've changed. And that's the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. But now understand one more thing that most people ignore. You want to focus, but your mind keeps wandering into thoughts, worries, random ideas. You think, why can't I control my mind? The truth? Your mind isn't the problem. Your training is incomplete. You've never trained your mind. You just left it open. Think whatever, go wherever, and now you expect it to be disciplined? Not possible. Simple analogy: if you leave a dog untrained, it'll run at every sound, react to everything. But if you train it, the same dog becomes focused, controlled. Your mind is exactly like that. Untrained mind equals distraction. Trained mind equals focus. So how do you train it? This book gives a simple way: awareness. Whenever your attention drifts, catch it and tell yourself, not now. Then bring yourself back to work. In the beginning, this will happen 100 times, but every time you bring it back, your mind learns where to stay. That practice makes you different. Another thing, you think focus means working long hours. The truth, focus means doing deep work in short time. You can work 8 hours and still be average. Someone else can work 3 hours and get top-level results. The difference? Depth. Imagine you put your phone away for 1 hour, close the door, and work with full concentration. That 1 hour equals 3 to 4 hours. That's smart work. That's focused work. Another hidden trap: perfection. You think, I need to do it perfectly. And in that chase, you either don't start or you slow down. But the truth? Perfection kills focus, because you don't take action. You just keep thinking. So from today, focus on progress, not perfect. Do a little, but do it daily. Do it imperfect, but complete it. That builds momentum. Another powerful realization: your environment can either build your focus or completely break it. If you're around people who aren't serious, who are distracted, who waste time, you'll become the same, because environment silently influences you. So check your circle, check your space. Is the place you sit helping you grow or distracting you? If the answer isn't clear, change is necessary, because focus doesn't just come from inside, it's built from outside too. Another mistake: you make everything urgent. But the truth, urgent and important are different. Urgent demands attention now. Important changes your life. And the problem? You get stuck in urgent and keep postponing important. So you stay busy, but don't grow. Simple shift. Every day, do important first, then the rest. And if there's no time left, that's okay, because you completed what mattered most.